heard about men getting pregnant. I've never heard about this argument. It must be some part of what you call the far left that is so minuscule that I, who am...
No, Jane.
What?
It's not minuscule, and I'm sorry, you can't throw this back on us. I assume it's because you are locked into media that just never wants anyone in their audience to know anything sketchy about the blue team.
On the latest episode of Club Random, Bill Maher absolutely torched Jane Fonda's woke talking points, and it was pure entertainment. Fonda walked in thinking she was on another echo chamber podcast where her every word would be worshipped. Instead, she found herself face-to-face with Maher, the anti-woke sniper himself, locked, loaded, and ready to dismantle her entire narrative. Let's dive in.
Garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is...
No, you know this about California. Come
No,
on.
I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism. And that, what do you think?
I don't for a minute consider California a state that is extreme leftist. Not at all, not any way.
Well, that shows where your politics.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. Jane Fonda lives so deep inside the Hollywood bubble that she's practically forgotten what the real world even looks like. She's been surrounded by flashing cameras, studio applause, and self-congratulating. Activists for so long that she started mistaking the movie set for reality itself. In her world, slogans replace logic and moral grandstanding passes for wisdom, but Maher? He's not having any of it. He's ready to grab a sharp pin of truth and pop that overinflated Hollywood illusion, dragging Fonda right back to planet Earth where real people live, work, and actually deal with consequences. Grab your popcorn. This one's going to sting.
The birthers, they became the Tea Party. There's about a third of this country that's very hard right. Of course they love Trump. When he left office, he had an approval rating of 34%. So he really only had those people. Why is he now like tied? Because the other part of the coalition are people who, they don't really like him that much. They just think the far left has gone so nutty on so many issues.
That's what they're being told.
That's what they...
By people like you.
Because it's true. You think the far left does nothing crazy?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
You can practically feel the tension crackling in the room as these two get ready to go head-to-head. It's that electric silence right before the verbal punches start flying. But here's the real irony. In one breath, Jane Fonda accuses Maher of saying the far left is going crazy, and in the very next, she admits they actually are going crazy. Classic. The double standard is practically a trademark move of the far left. Deny, deflect, then accidentally prove your opponent right. It's like watching a live demonstration of political hypocrisy at its finest. Maher knows it, the audience knows it, and Fonda is about to find out the hard way. Anyway, let's keep going.
This is the far left. What do you mean when you say far left?
I mean, I could give you a million examples.
Yeah, well, give me one.
Okay, the NAACP.
You think the NAACP is far
Could I
left?
finish my sentence?
Yes.
You asked me for an example.
Yeah.
Travel advisory, you know, that's like the State Department does to go to, I'm sure when you went to Vietnam, they were advising you not to. There's a war on.
I didn't talk to them. I don't have no right.
I know, but you know a travel advisory.
Yeah.
Today we have them for very dangerous countries. You
Yeah.
know, don't go to North Korea, don't go to Iran.
Yeah.
You know where they issued a travel advisory for black people not to go?
Yeah.
Florida. Every day there's stories like that, that just makes people roll their eyes and go, are you people nuts? Even if they don't matter that much, I don't think one person listened to this and thought, I can't go to Florida. But they just suggest something to the average person, which I completely understand, which is, wow, do you people ever find anything that's ridiculous?
So woke isn't just a person or a mindset, it's a full-blown ideology. One that seeps into everything: culture, politics, entertainment, and even how people think they're allowed to speak. It's an ideology that proudly declares war on common sense, twists science into activism, and rewrites history to fit a feel-good narrative. facts become optional, logic becomes offensive, and emotion becomes the new truth. And that's the core of the problem. It's no longer about equality, it's about control through moral intimidation. I just wish Maher had driven that point home even harder. He hinted at it, sure, but stopped short of pulling the trigger. Maybe he's being cautious not to alienate his liberal audience. Still, someone needs to say it plainly. Woke culture is in progress. It's a slow erosion of reason.
You really think men can get pregnant? You know, that kind of stuff. And I understand that a trans woman can get pregnant. That's different than a man getting pregnant. Insist on blurring that line as if that's some sort of reasonable social cause, as opposed to just being for having full rights, respect, and protection for trans.
No, trans women do not get pregnant, and that's a matter of biological reality. But Maher is right about one thing. The trans movement is at its strongest when it focuses on securing rights, safety, and freedoms, not trying to rewrite scientific terms. There's an important difference between asking for respect and insisting that everyone abandon basic biological definitions in order to validate an ideological position. The movement risks losing credibility when it pushes ideas that conflict with widely understood biology, like saying men can give birth or that gender has no connection to biological sex. These more extreme claims don't help progress. Instead, they create division among people who might otherwise support equality. Real progress comes from protecting individual freedoms, ensuring dignity for everyone, and encouraging open, honest dialogue, not from policing language, shutting down disagreement, or shaming people for asking questions. That approach only fuels backlash and prevents the meaningful conversation society actually needs.
Never heard about men getting pregnant. I've never heard about this argument. It must be some part of what you call the far left that is so minuscule that I, who am...
No, Jane,
What?
It's not minuscule, and I'm sorry, you can't throw this back on us. I assume it's because you are locked into media that just never wants anyone in their audience to know anything sketchy about the blue.
And that right there was the hammer blow. Jane Fonda tried to pivot faster than a politician caught on a hot mic. 1 second, she's defending the far left, and the next she's pretending she's never heard the argument that a man can get pregnant. Really, Jane? That line has been repeated on countless talk shows, college campuses, and social media feeds for years. You can't just pretend it never happened. Then, realizing she'd boxed herself in, she tried to slip out of it by claiming, "The woke left represents only a tiny fraction of the Democratic Party," but Maher wasn't buying it. With one sharp retort, he burst that bubble, reminding her that these ideas aren't fringe anymore. They're part of the mainstream rhetoric within today's political left. That moment exposed everything. The denial, the spin, and the desperate attempt to rewrite reality on live camera.
And that's...
I mean, I don't know. I read 2 papers, and maybe I don't. I should watch Fox News.
No,
I guess.
I don't watch that. That's too far. But you don't have to. I'm not going to torture myself.
And that's how the conversation finally fizzled out, with Jane Fonda practically conceding defeat. Cornered and visibly uncomfortable, she joked that she now wished she had watched more Fox News, but that moment said everything. It wasn't just a throwaway line. It was an accidental admission that she'd been living in an echo chamber for years. Her Hollywood bubble had insulated her from the unfiltered debates happening in the real world, on mainstream media, social platforms, and around ordinary dinner tables. While she was surrounded by applause from like-minded circles, reality was moving on without her. Maher simply pulled back the curtain. And for the first time, she got a glimpse of just how detached that world has become. Sometimes truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to pop the bubble.
Certainly has been the history of this country, was police who were all too willing to shoot black people. So defund the police, though, was not a good idea. And you know who mostly didn't think it was a good idea was black people, because they want police in their neighborhoods, probably more than we need them.
Well, that's the core issue with woke culture. It often runs on impulse, not introspection. The loudest voices rarely pause to consider the long-term consequences of their demands. They ride whatever trend feels morally superior in the moment. And when reality pushes back, those same voices suddenly act like they never supported in the first place. Take the defund the police movement, for example. A few years ago, the slogan was everywhere, treated like the ultimate badge of moral righteousness. But fast forward to today, and reality has delivered a hard lesson. Many communities saw crime rise and safety decline, leading people across the political spectrum to acknowledge that law enforcement plays a crucial role in maintaining stability. It's a harsh reminder that chasing feel-good activism without considering real-world consequences can end up harming the very communities these movements claim to defend.
The Republicans tried to catch the Democrats with this, and they put this on, they brought it up in Congress.
Yeah.
And all the Democrats voted against it. The Democratic politicians were not for defunding the police. It's that radical fringe that has captured a lot of the media, academia, some of these cultural institutions that are not liberal anymore by my old school liberalism. The ACLU was all about free speech. They don't really believe in it anymore. They believe, in one of their chief people who is trans said, I will die on this hill of banning this.
Yep, Maher's absolutely right. The woke faction has become one of the loudest and most influential forces within the Democratic Party, often steering the entire conversation. They shape the tone, the language, and even what topics feel safe to discuss. Meanwhile, many moderates on the left seem hesitant to push back, worried that any disagreement could get them labeled as bigots or traitors to the cause. The few commentators and politicians who do speak up often face intense backlash. From organized online pile-ons to professional consequences, it's no longer about healthy debate or genuine progressive ideas. It's about conforming to an ever-shifting moral rulebook that punishes anyone who steps outside the lines. Maher's point lands hard. If the left doesn't reclaim a sense of balance and open discussion, the loudest fringe voices will continue pulling it toward political irrelevance.
Story. Most voters say U.S. can't repair severe divisions. And they went into the fact that 5 years ago, even during the pandemic and during the George Floyd protests, even then, people thought, well, we are going to get through this. And now they seem to be on the page of, it's not going to happen.
Bill,
what do we do? But did you see the story?
Yeah, and I think what's new about this moment, one of my teachers and friends, Doug Seidman, likes to say this, we aren't divided, we are being divided.
That's right.
By companies for profit, okay? And we have our divisions, we always have them.
Well, I have to disagree. Division didn't just happen. In many ways, it's been cultivated. The far left often thrives on outrage and polarization because it gives them control. They don't debate. They dictate. The moment you challenge their worldview or refuse to echo their talking points, you risk being branded a villain, canceled, shamed, or silenced. It's no longer about inclusivity or progress. It's about enforcing ideological conformity. Countless people have lost jobs, reputations, and even friendships simply for holding a different opinion. That's not tolerance. That's authoritarianism wrapped in virtue signaling. Until the left learns to genuinely tolerate differing perspectives and engage in honest dialogue rather than staging public witch hunts, unity will remain nothing more than a hollow slogan. You can't build bridges when one side keeps burning them down.
You, on your phone, you ordered a yoga mat or something. Your algorithm figured out you're a liberal. Then your neighbor looked up a truck, you're a conservative. And from that day forward, you got different information every day and nobody sent a notice. And so now you literally think your neighbor is insane because how could they possibly think this stuff? But if you put your phone next to their phone, you're in different algorithmic universes, and that is brand new and very different.
For once, I actually agree with Van Jones on this one. We desperately need a converging space on our social media platforms, a place where differing opinions aren't hidden, but encouraged to collide. Right now, algorithms act like digital babysitters, feeding us only the content that flatters our existing beliefs and shields us from opposing views. That's not enlightenment, that's intellectual isolation. If we want to restore genuine, dialogue, we need exposure to arguments that challenge us, frustrate us, and even make us uncomfortable. The left should see what the right is saying, and the right should hear what the left believes, not through sound bites or outrage clips, but through real, honest conversations. Only then can we learn to grapple with reality instead of marinating in curated delusion, trapped inside ideological bubbles. Otherwise, we'll keep mistaking comfort for truth, and that's dangerous. On that note, we'll draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to Pixel Fork for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.